Church, understand that the presence of love in our lives, demonstrable love for God and people, is evidence of the Holy Spirit's work in our lives. Demonstrable love for God and love for people. Like when it's clear that you're loving God and you're loving people, it is an indicator that the Spirit of God is at work in you. That you really are a child of God, that you really are saved. 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 and 8, it says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God." Did you hear that? Whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. God is love, and we see love so beautifully displayed in His Son Jesus. Jesus is our example. Christ is our example of love. So in Ephesians chapter 5, Paul calls upon his audience. He says, on the one hand, walk in love as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us. And then 23 verses later, Ephesians 5:25, he says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave Himself up for her. So let me just run those by you again. It's Ephesians 5:2 and Ephesians 5:25. So I take 5:2 to refer to all of the believers in Ephesus, and then 5:25, he's speaking specifically to husbands. But what does he say? He says, walk in love as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us. Then he says to husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave Himself up for her. So husbands, how are we to love our wives? Look at what Jesus did for us. Church, how are we to walk in love? Look at what Jesus did for us. To walk in love is to live a life characterized by loving actions. Jesus lived a life characterized by loving actions, and His love for us was most powerfully displayed at the cross.